Hi, this is Xavier Venus, and you can call me Savvy. Today, I will discuss about the 12 common approaches in teaching a language. Without further ado, let's get started. So first is the direct method. Practitioners of this method believe that learners should experience a second language without any interference from their native tongue. For example, our Filipino teacher, they usually speak Filipino inside the classroom. In this way, the learners will experience and learn how the language is pronounced and creative or formed. The second one is grammar translation. Instructors encourage the learner to memorize grammar rules and vocabulary lists. The rules are memorized. How to use there and others. There are more of that, for example, like is and are, how to use them. Grammar drills are common, for example, in assessments that has choices like what linking verbs you should use in a blank space provided. The third one is audiolingual. Students learn primarily through pattern drills, particularly dialogues, which the teacher uses to help students practice and memorize the language. These dialogues follow standard configurations of communication. In this approach, hearing is applied, and of course, the imitation. There are assessments like repeating what the teacher said. The fourth approach is a structural approach. It focuses on mastering these structures, building one skill on top of another instead of memorizing vocabulary. This focuses more on taking lessons one by one rather than memorizing them. Assessments giver usually provide tests that are specific to one subject, like exclusively only to nouns. The fifth approach is total physical response. It highlights oral comprehension by allowing learners to respond to basic commands. This is the approach that needs actions or movements. When the teacher says, "Please pray," then the students will stand up and someone will lead the prayer. The sixth approach is communicative learning approach, or CLT. CLT teachers focus on being facilitators rather than straightforward instructors. Doing so helps students achieve CLT's primary goal, learning to communicate in the target language instead of emphasizing the mastery of grammar. Interaction in here is applied. This approach enhances communication skills. This can also be done through giving opinions and comments taken from the lessons. The seventh approach is the natural approach. This approach aims to mimic natural language learning with a focus on communication and instruction through exposure. The goal of this is to let students learn without stress. No corrections is applied at all. The eighth approach is task-based language teaching. This approach lets students complete real-world tasks using their target language. And here, the teachers give tasks to students, for example, like in reporting and many more. The ninth approach is Suggestopedia language learning method. It is based on the power of suggestion in learning. The notion being that positive suggestion would make the learner more receptive. To children, listening to nursery rhymes can help them memorize it well. Giving a stress-free vibe can boost students' learning. The 10th approach is the silent way. Learners are encouraged to be independent and to discover the figure out language on their own. The teacher will possibly talk less. This is common nowadays where students have to teach their own self or in their. The 10th approach is the silent way. Learners are encouraged to be independent and to discover and figure out language on their own. The teacher will possibly talk less. This is common nowadays where students have to teach their own in this pandemic. The 11th approach is functional notion approach. The role of the teacher in this second language teaching method is to evaluate how students will use the language. This approach is used to assess students to whether what purpose they use this language for. And the last approach is the test, teach, test approach. This style of language teaching is ideal for directly targeting students' need. The teachers uses test paper to assess students. This will show the total improvement of the students. I guess that was all. Thank you so much for listening and have a nice day.